I am Neil Larthos. I am the next Abdullah. You are the next Neville Goddard. Your SP gets wet, moist, every single time they think of you, and your bank account makes Jeff Bezos look homeless. If you guys want to work with me, the links are in the description below, and subscribe for daily manifestation content. SP gets hooked when you follow the book, okay? So in this video, I want to talk about a question that many of my commenters ask, where they say, Neil Larthos, I've been doing robotic affirming, I've been doing all these techniques, and I've been using all the goat's blood and the backflips on the highway and all this bullshit. I'm good for 5 days, I'm good for 5 hours, but then I fall out of state. Neil Larthos, how do I stay in state? And no, Neil, I'm not talking about remaining in the boundaries of Alabama. How do I stay in the wish fulfilled? Guys, you gotta remember from the very beginning, first of all, you are whatever you decide. Why? Because you are God, okay? And no, that does not mean that you created the Old Testament. What that means is that whatever you say goes. Just like the Lord said, let there be light. Do you think Genesis was written for no reason? It was written to show you guys how to be God. We are sons of the Father. No, we didn't create the heavens and the earth, but just like the way he said, let there be light, is the same way that you can say, let there be SP. Let there be financial freedom. Okay? So, first, you have to understand that states are all about understanding that it's not about a technique, it's about understanding reality. Well, you can't understand reality if you don't know how it works, and you cannot work reality correctly if you don't know who you are. Okay? A basketball player cannot play basketball correctly if he is using it as the identity of a tennis player. Okay? So if you go into reality thinking that you're a human being, then you're going to understand it from the human lens. Okay? But when you see yourself separate from the body, separate from the mind, I'm telling you, this is the thing that most clients of mine forget. Now, some of them do it naturally because they are already spiritually awakened, right? But if you think that it's just that you say a magic spell, you rub the bottle of the genie and then you get your wish, that's not how it works. Okay? Just like anything in this world, it's never as easy as a snap of a finger. In a way it is, but it can only feel easy when you become the one who everything is easy. And life for human beings is not easy. It's hard. They have to pay rent. They have emotions. They have to follow the way of the flesh. But what do the scriptures say? Those who are of the flesh will die, but those who live by the Spirit will live, right? And what is that talking about? It even says in 1 John that those who are of the world are not of the Father, and they do not have the love of the Father in them. So what does that mean? It means that you are doing things like the 99%. But the 1%, even when they had an imaginal act, when they said, my SP is a flower in my garden, but I'm the fucking sun. My SP sacrificed all her Louis Vuitton on the altar of my throne because I am her king. When you say crazy shit like that, boosting your self-concept, and then you go in your end right here and just see yourself with them, guess what? It is already done. Now, the thing that gets in the way is you see her at the gym. She doesn't even look your way. As a matter of fact, she's talking to the, 7-foot athletic basketball player who is like twice your fucking size, and you're like, oh shit, all hope is lost, right? But because you are God, but you were unaware of your God form, because if you knew that you were God, you wouldn't have said that. You said, let there be light, but in the version of, let there be, my SP chooses guys twice my size, and I'm a loser. When you look at the 3D and see that it's not going your way, it's the same way as God saying, let there be SP rejecting me. Let there be SP doing Eiffel Towers on her college break while I'm over here trying my best in no contact. You don't realize just how powerful you are, both for the negative things you say and for the positive things that you are having such a hard time fucking saying. You want to know how, number one, that you stay in the state? It is by saying and telling yourself that no matter what, you always remain in the state. Because what is, in reality, the state? When you really think about 9 times out of 10 what the clients are trying to say when they say they want to stay in the state, what they're really trying to say is, am I good? Do I still have it? Right? It's like you were driving and you hit the curb and you're like, oh fuck, this is a new car. But then you get down, you park at the 7-Eleven and you're like, oh shit, wow, not even a scratch. Well, guess what, motherfucker? You don't have a fucking scratch. You're bulletproof. You're titanium steel. So start telling yourself your fucking state is titanium steel. You can never jump out of the state. The one who decides that you're out of the state is you. Because even if you were to make a fucking mistake, like many manifestation coaches will tell you and say, you shall not fucking text your SP. You should not beg them to come back, or you should not be needy. You are so powerful that you could fucking make a fool of yourself in the 3D. But if you can tell yourself, no, fuck this shit, I'm brand new right now, you can go to the reality where that embarrassing thing that you didn't even happen. How do I know? Because I've done it so many times with exes of mine. Before I even went into the teachings of Neville Goddard. Right? I'm talking like I had an ex where I just did stupid shit, man. I made a fool out of myself. I was a beta male, right? And I don't even like using that terminology, but of course I'm saying it because that's the best, title of a guy who is basically a pussy that most people can understand better. So that's why I'm using it. Beta male. I was a fucking beta male with my ex. And even me saying the story could be detrimental, but I'm gonna decide. The old Neo, the Neo from the other timeline, right, was a beta male with his ex, right? But when he decided that, actually no, all I gotta do is see myself as a different version, see myself as the Neo Larthos that gets all the ladies, that is the most masculine entity that they ever saw, so much that they're borderline tempted to call me their father. And that if I was to take away the cell phone, they would respect it because they submit to me. They are more submissive to me than Khabib Nurmagomedov's UFC opponents in the octagon, right? So when I started having that mindset and I started saying to myself, what would the version of me who had all the women that he ever wanted and never would fucking lose his cool, how would he act? And I developed a new version of myself. And guess what? When my ex saw that new version of myself, yeah, I'm not gonna lie, in the 3D, the old version of herself said, you are different. But at the end of the day, it got to the point where within days it was normal. It was like she never would bring up anything of the past. It was not, you are different. It was just her treating me like a king. Okay? And that's where you can get to, right? with your SP. You want to talk about states, you want to talk about alter egos. The best way to stay in the state is to understand who you are in the first place, and from there it gets easier. And whether your state is the guy who gets all the ladies, or whether your state is that you just have your desire, you have the SP, you have the money, you have the physical appearance change, right? You have the promotion, right? Well, all you gotta do is ask yourself, is the thing that I am aware of right now what the person who, the version of me who had that thing, would they be thinking what I have in my awareness right now? And if the answer is no, then you have two choices. You can either literally think of the things that you would be thinking of, right? But if your SP is all the way in fucking Zimbabwe, but you are in fucking Rhode Island, and yeah, last time I checked, those two are not the same fucking state in America. Okay, well, if you would be thinking, holy shit, my African girlfriend from Zimbabwe with the big tits would be just choking me with her nipples right now, well, okay, you can't necessarily feel that, but you can still think that right now. That's why we say to give yourself imaginal acts, not because it's almost like a technique, but because if you give yourself an imaginal act and you say, okay, well, right now I would be sucking on my Zimbabwe girlfriend's tits if I had my SP right now, then if you give yourself an imaginal act, you're giving yourself the thought processes of the person who is sucking on his Zimbabwe girlfriend's tits right now. And you're gonna say, well, it's just imagination. No, it's fact. God damn it. If you say and understand that whatever you give yourself in your consciousness, just like God said, let there be light. So if you give yourself Zimbabwe tits in your mind, guess what? You are saying, let there be Zimbabwe tits, and boom. You think when God said, let there be light, he was like, oh shit, I gotta call the fucking cable bill. No! The light fucking instantly came, right? Isn't it interesting that we didn't see that? And we have scientists arguing if there even is a God because there's no proof. Isn't that the same thing that we do when we do an imaginal act and we say that we have our Zimbabwe girlfriend, that we have our Argentinian boyfriend with the sexy facial hair, right? Isn't it interesting that we do the same thing that fucking atheists do with the fact that, oh, well, if I didn't see God do the fucking creation in the laboratory, then I guess there is no God because I have to see it. Seeing is believing. We do the same thing as atheists do with God when we say that I have to see the proof in the 3D first and then I'll believe it. Stop being an atheist, okay? And stop getting out of the state and stop deciding that you got out of the state. But the easiest practical way is just to match whatever you know you would be thinking of. If you had your SP, if you had the physical appearance change, if you would look yourself in the mirror and say, holy shit, there's that six-pack. Which, by the way, here's a tip. You probably wouldn't be thinking about the Zimbabwe tits all throughout the day. Honest to God, once you get your SP, you're going to be thinking about other things, right? So that's why I've always said in many of my videos that honest to God is not even so much about thinking of the things to do, but thinking of the things not to do. So if you're constantly thinking of your SP because you don't have them, well, guess what? Stop thinking about the fact that you don't have them and start thinking about positive shit. And not to sound like a fucking cliche poster that they have in your fucking photojournalism class to motivate you, to keep you off of drugs. Hugs, not drug, kids. No, it's actually true. Like, I don't even like that term, but like high vibration is just another word of saying what you would be doing if you had everything you wanted, if you were in a good mood. What would you be doing if you're in a good mood? If you know that the only thing that is going to keep you in a good mood is if you knew that you had SP, like a lot of people, when they sing those love songs like, I'm never gonna be happy unless I have my baby. Stop being a little fucking bitch, okay? You give yourself the fulfillment right now. Whether you're a lady, whether you're a gentleman, you give yourself the fulfillment now. Okay, I call it Sabbath maxing. Just like when God said, let there be light, he rested after the seventh day. Well, what would you be doing in celebration throughout your life if you were retired, if you had SP, you didn't have a single desire left on the bucket list, you had everything? How would you be enjoying your life? And if it's something that you can do right now, like on your off day, go to the fucking the movies. Maybe you guys feel like instead of traveling when you're retired and when you have SP, and maybe they're at work, you would just be, going to the movies all the time, or going shopping, or 24-hour fitness, b-ball hooping with the boys, because you always said, fuck man, I never had time when I had that job, right? But now that I'm so happy and I don't have to care about fucking finances, and I have the fucking hottest woman that I could ever ask for, or if you're a woman, I have the sexiest fucking man of my dreams. He's my husband. He's bringing home the bacon, and right now I'm with the girlfriends having a blast drinking Chardonnays, whatever it is, right? Don't do things like sit at home and eating Bluebell ice cream, cookies and cream style all the time because you miss SP. Do the things that you would be doing if life was great, okay? And if it's that you have to go to Dubai because that's the only thing that, would make life great and what you would be doing if you were fucking retired, okay, well, what's the second thing? There has to be something. Don't say, no, I would only be with SP. You would not be with fucking SP all fucking day, okay? So stop the bullshit, all right? And if that's really true, okay, well then fucking get to it. Give yourself SP right up here, okay? But you have to ask yourself, what would the version of you be doing if you had SP? And that's how you stay in the state. But if you have any questions and you want to go more in depth, and you require specific attention to your circumstances, guys, you know where to find me. I am Neil Larthos. This is all that the I'm Awareness had to say, and I know you're gonna be okay.